Off?
It's on again.
There's an RSL club here in Australia, the Royal throughout Australia. It's a lovely place. You can go in there and you're a pensioner. They give you a bus to take you from your home, and you can go in and you spend all your pension money on the poker machine because it's like bloody Las Vegas, right? So I was in there one day and this old lady walked up and prodded me with an umbrella. She said, "Put these on." I said, "Why? I don't need glasses." She said, "You look better with glasses on." Okay, folks, we've got something very interesting. Many years ago, I was looking at a man who, in New Zealand, a physicist, who said that you have to be in a certain longitude and latitude and an angle to the sun at a certain time of the day for an atomic weapon to be detonated. I've got it on the screen behind me, so I'll just play a little bit of what he's saying.
With network, the international interest connected with the control of production of energy would certainly not want the public to become aware of this. There's no such thing as an energy shortage. We don't need oil for energy, we don't need anything else. It's there, you're surrounded by the stuff you're standing on. And every time the rain drop touches the earth when it's raining and splits, it imparts a static charge to the earth. And the earth is like a big capacitor, and whatever they do to use it to start oscillating, it's already there, standing on the stuff. Trillions and trillions and trillions of electron volts are there to tap, and they know how to do it.
Okay, now this guy's name is Bruce Cathy. For Americans listening to this, he's got a New Zealand accent and speaks very quickly. So I would advise you to have a look at his work. There is some short ones there about Bruce Cathy, and it's all to do with a fear tactic. Now, what this boils down to is you had the Cold War, which was a hoax competition of fear between Russia and the United States, and of course China on the sidelines, and North Korea and all these places. So what they basically do is they cause a problem and then react to it and control the media, and therefore if you keep everybody in a fear mode, because you are made in the image of God, in other words, you're like me, then if you think collectively a fear thought, you will be able to be herded like the parable of the sheep into a pen for absolute dominance. So what we have in the world today is the wolves are in charge of the sheep, and the wolves are clothed in sheep's clothing that mingle amongst us. So I did some calculations, and I'll do it in a PowerPoint later on because I've only just done it in this last few minutes. And what I was particularly interested in trying to find is that there is a point in Nagasaki, and I haven't done Hiroshima yet, but it will be the same. The distances to the sun, for example, was on that day, on the August the 9th, the bomb was dropped at 8:15 in the morning, local time, and it's GMT plus 9 if you want to do the mathematics. So the distance was 942,860,87 miles, and of course the 942 is the number of occasions the word Jesus is found in the New Testament of the King James Bible only, and also there is 942 verses in 1 Chronicles 5:13, which is where you will find the 7 names that all interrelate to my wives and their children and my children with my first wife, my child with my second wife, my stepchildren with my third wife, and these three demons that I had to marry because it was primarily a nudge in that direction by my angel Gabriel, who is with me at all times. Now, the man that you've got to look up, you can look for Bridge to Infinity and Bruce L. Cathie, C-A-T-H-I-E. Now, let's get back to the actual detonation. What I do is I measure from the position of the moon at that point on the surface of the earth, and then I measure to Nagasaki. I also measure the night position of the sun, which is basically, if you was to have a laser beam coming out from the sun, where it hit the night side of the earth on that day, at that moment, 8:15 in the morning. Now, the day side, the latitudes and longitudes of the day side is 16.86 north by 162.71 east. The distance is 151738751 kilometres, which is 94,286,000. Now 286 is the displacement factor of the Great Pyramid. So by the time the blast hit, the number was 286,100 because it's up to a few seconds away. 942 and 2861 is the displacement factor of the Great Pyramid, and 942, of course, is what I'm saying, Jesus. Excuse me. Now, the night side was the same latitude number but south, 16.86 south by 17.29 west. The moon at 23.00 north by 137.86 east. So that gives you distances and areas from any given point. Now I have roughly done each of those locations to my birthplace, and I'll give you what the results are, not from my birthplace, because that's even more time consuming, and I want to check the facts over several times before I nail it down, because there are sometimes you can miss a point here and there. So what we have then is sentence, judgment, darkness. We have Nagasaki to the moon location, 312, which is my name, Brian Leonard Golightly Marshall, in English geometry. So it's 312.2.7. Then we have in nautical miles to the moon from Nagasaki, 2050, which is desolation, lay waste. Then in kilometres, we have 3799, which is to mark out as a place, and a great drop. So it is spelling out the great drop being the bomb on marking on a location, the latitude and longitude, to lay waste, desolation, my name, and the distance to the sun is Jesus. The area of joining up the 3 points, Nagasaki, moon and the sun on the day side, gives you a area of 4, 6, 7, 8 and 3 digits after that, which is 4, 6, 7, 8 is the first to be taken when you're doing such a large area. It's in millions of square miles or kilometres. So we've got the point of the moon on the Earth's surface. So from the centre of the moon to the centre of the earth, where it penetrates through as a laser beam, where it hits the earth's surface, we've got that longitude and latitude. We've got Nagasaki, same thing, in its longitude and latitude. And we've got the sun on the day side, its longitude and latitude, drawing a line from the centre of the sun to the centre of the earth. The area within it gives you the 4, 6, 7, 8 plus 3 more points of numbers. The 4, 6, 7, 8 is a monumental stone. And if you go to Nagasaki, they have a monumental stone built at the exact epicentre of the bomb. So, what they have done throughout history is to terrify, create false religions. What happened?
Oh, I had to move the phone. I was listening on there. The phone's buzzing.
The phone's picking them up.
You know that sound, it, mate.
Luckily, I'm buying a new phone. I bought a new phone because I was playing with a phone the other day, or rather Adam was. And what you can do with these downloads you can get, you can hold the phone up with one of these apps. Cost you a couple of bucks to get it. And it'll show you what the stars are, what the satellites are going overhead in live time. But more importantly, I've been talking for a very long time, and Joel and I have taken photographs of the Kachina blue and red star. We've also taken photographs of large bodies over Antarctica and through the Nehemiah location. We've also, before we went to London, we was predicting that the Earth's tilt has to be out and that the moon is all over the place when it comes to the orientation because we crossed over the Milky Way galaxy equatorial line. On the Mayan calendar date, which is accurate, what is inaccurate was the Gregorian calendar. Because the Gregorian calendar, Pope Gregory XIII was told by his astronomers in the Temple of the Winds, which is in the Vatican, that the time of the sundial was out by 10 days. So when the sun was over Rome at 666 minutes for the day, which is entirely within reason for the astronomers to be able to calculate that at that time, they added 10 days to October the 4th, making the next day October the 15th. We see that, of course, it was dominated by Jews, and we see the Pope John Paul II, who was Polish, and his mother was a Jew, so therefore he's automatically a Jew, automatically an Israeli. And the conclave in 1978 set him as Pope in the election. When the sunrise, the sunset in 1978 was 666 minutes. In addition, he was shot. And there's a verse in the Bible that says the beast was wounded to death but did live. So what happened was Pope was shot, and I think it was May the 13th in 1981. Round there anyhow. So we are identifying the most powerful organisation in the world, which dominates everything, is the Vatican. So the Pope was shot. He was wounded to death. Under normal circumstances he'd have died, but because of medical intervention with modern procedures, he was saved. So that identified the beast. So what we have then is the Jews have been bullshitting the world ever since day one. And it's all Babylonian, Talmud, Noahide laws, all this kind of nonsense that are such a diabolical way of thinking that these psychopaths have been interbreeding. And they are filthy abomination. As a matter of fact, it was General Patton at the end of the war made a statement that we're fighting the wrong side, because he had interaction with the Jews and he found that they were the most despicable bunch of bastards. And he was in his vehicle, and an open convertible vehicle, one of the German things, I think. And a fighter come on along the road and machine gunned the car. It went off the road. He fell out, and they say he broke his neck. In all probability, he died 10 days later, and they probably killed him. Very, very likely. So what we have then is the reason for dropping the bomb on Nagasaki. Now, sitting in the co-pilot's seat while they were flying back and forwards for an hour and a half, dodging bullets, because the timing had to be just right. And this is where this Mr. Caffey had calculated, in the days when there was no calculators, the precise mathematical location, longitude, latitude, angle of the sun, and he said that it can only occur at this moment in time. So you then have to look up, if you can, all of the dates that these bombs was tested in the United States and Russia and the French, and in Australia. They dropped some bombs here with the British at Woomera Rocket Range. I should mention that the Woomera Rocket Range, because they had Australian scientists working on it, the Australians leaves most scientists for dead when it comes to logic and quick-minded. They're very, very brilliant people. In fact, I was in the Inventors Association at one stage there, and I registered something like 200 patents, and of course none of them ever got off the ground because it's got to be sanctioned by the Jews, like magnetic motors, for example, things like that. And several machines that I designed that would give you free power. The larger, the better. Now in Australia in particular, because of the deserts, you can build towers here, let's say a kilometre high, and draw the air in from a skirting that would be 2 kilometres in radius, just made out of sheet metal, colour bond coated with brown to absorb the sun, and that causes the air to be pulled in and goes up the tower, and it causes the air to generate huge amounts of electricity. And what you can do at that point is pump the water up to some of the subterranean chambers under Australia, which is 1/6 the area of Australia, which is 3 million square miles, so 1/6 of that. That's around 600,000 square miles of subterranean water. And of course, this goes down as far as Pine Gap, and you punch a hole in the ground there, and the water just comes straight up with the weight of Australia sitting on the water. It pushes the water up without pumping it. So that's a form of irrigation. It's also a form of power for nothing. So that's all you have to do. And you never run out of water, because as you're putting the water out into your farms, it then evaporates and then pours back down as rain, which then soaks back into the water, replenishing the subterranean chamber. But also, I had an acquaintance in Hawaii in 1975, And what happened there, I was looking at property which was relatively cheap compared to what they was actually getting for property which had water on. So I telephoned a fellow who happened to be an Australian, and he charged $1 million to drill a well. But the well, of course, is enough to feed 500 houses. So I said to him, where do you get the fresh water? Like, you're on an island in the middle of the bloody Pacific. In fact, that area where Diamond Head is, that's the highest area of a volcano, and it is actually the highest mountain on Earth because it's sitting on the bottom of the ocean and sticks up through the water. So it gives you some idea how high this thing is. So it's very high indeed. So he said that because of the volcanic material that the island is made of, if you go in 1,200 feet and drill a hole down to below sea level, the water that's being pushed in to that hole is passing through the volcanic material, and that removes the salt, and you end up with pure water. And of course it's got the atoms in it which are molecules of all of the good things that's in the water. Magnesium, for example. Now, a person who has a lack of magnesium is subject to 320 different diseases that you can come down with because of lack of magnesium. So that is why in America in particular, they're pretty well poisoned now with your vaccines and your fluoride. But fluoride is a very, very deadly material that gives you cancer and so forth. And water then is readily available anywhere along the coast of any nation, because all you've got to do is go in far enough so that the salt water is leached out, and you have the water for everybody that is totally life-sustaining and beneficial. And you don't have to put fluoride in it, do you? So this is what has been going on. So we go back to the nuclear business and what it's all about. So the Americans are supposed to have dropped, according to Lorraine Murray, which is a front for the evils of the world. And I say that for this reason. She has been fear-mongering about Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and then of course you've got the Fukushima, you've got your 3 meltdowns, you've got plutonium, and this kind of fear-mongering is what it causes people to have cancer and thyroid problems in children, which is true, providing that you don't treat the child will come down with a thyroid problem because of one of the elements they was using in the when it went into meltdown. And it is not something that has to be feared. It's just a matter of treating the child with the proper chemicals that will make the child replace the iodine that's lost in the thyroid. So if you get the thyroid problem, in fact, if everyone was to take iodine, then most of your problems would be solved, health-wise. So there seems to be the hype about how dangerous plutonium is. Now, the MOX fuel, which was placed into the third reactor by the Israeli security company, that's in charge of the safety of the 3 nuclear reactors and all the other ones for that matter. And the MOX fuel is plutonium grade weapons material. which has been banned in international treaties, that they can never be used for nuclear generation of power. Now, the Americans got stockpiles of thousands of these things in Albuquerque, and they've cleverly put it just near the surface where they've done all this fracking. So when the fracking would ignite, and if you don't know what fracking is, it is the drilling of through the bedrock, and they fracture the bedrock to release the natural gas, which then comes up and spoils all the water for the farms. So they've got laws in America that also applies to Australia. They've got 1 million square miles, get this, of fracking in America that has so much gas in it that you could run the world for 1,000 years on it, or more. You've got the same in Australia. The laws are that you cannot stop a drilling company coming onto your property and drilling and fracking the land. You get no compensation for it and you can't stop them. If you pull a gun on them, they arrest you or shoot you. That's the situation in America, and it's very similar to Australia. But Australia there's people in Australia are a bit more on the ball. They can see these things coming like a lead balloon, and they take appropriate action. However, they're pretty stupid in here. Right? Even to say they are intelligent, they are stupid. So what it is a gigantic con to keep you, because you're made in my image, that can create a miracle. Book of Revelation, Essenes, I've already read it to you, that can harness the power of the sun, and harnessing the power of the sun refers directly to Nagasaki and Hiroshima, because it is mentioning the charred bones of your brothers and sisters. It's only happened one place, Japan. So, where we go? They dropped the bombs when the angle of the sun and the distance to the sun was Jesus. Nagasaki, distance to the moon from Nagasaki at that moment is my name. The moon distance spells out desolation and lay waste, using your concordance numbers of the King James Bible. And remember, I told you that King James was getting even for his mother's beheadings, because he was a dog from Scotland and about the same worth as a sheep, which became King of England, which was horrifying for the Jews who was controlling England from Amsterdam, and for the politicians themselves. Now, he and William Shakespeare, who was Edward de Vere, altered the King James manuscript, which was manuscript means written on paper. And the scholars, all Freemasons at the Freemason universities, through Francis Bacon, had handed the king and authorised the King James Bible so they could go into production as against the Catholic Church to create the Hegelian dialectic. It's very important to understand. You've got to have two evil forces going against each other, and the good guys you support the Catholic Church are the evil ones in the eyes of the King James Protestants, and vice versa. So you've got to have that constant battling back and forth. That way you keep people, what? Hypnotised by fear that a Catholic may be taken away and burned at the stake, as was Tinsdale, who brought the first New Testament at the time of Henry VIII into England. Right? They hunted him down. He was a Greek scholar, so he translated, with the help of Martin Luther, the Tinsdale New Testament. They hunted him down in, he was betrayed. He was in Belgium, and They did the right thing by him, they burned him at the stake. However, they did have mercy on him to a certain extent. They strangled him first and then burned him at the stake. Very nice people, Catholics, at that time. So today, the church, with Francis in charge of it, who, if you look up the Jesuit oath, you find that he is, and all Jesuits, there's 18,000 of them or more around the world, that have sworn to tear the baby out of the mother's womb and smash its head against the wall. Now, this sound like Jesus to you? Hello? I can assure you who didn't do it, doesn't swear an oath like that, is Pope Benedict, who recognised me as having the face of the Shroud of Turin. I should make a comment on that. I fully expected that I'd be launching into numbers and provable facts and all this kind of stuff with the Pope, but he wasn't interested. All he wanted to hear was funny stories of my life and the cures of the different diseases we've been doing throughout Fiji and Australia and, of course, New Guinea, and thousands of people cured. He said this is what Jesus would do. However, he was more delighted by the fact that my photograph showed him that the bone structure was the same, and anyone who has been watching the videos will see that the bone structure and the facial features of the man on the Shroud of Turin, which is of course myself. The first photograph ever. Alright, so we go back to Nagasaki. So what have we got? Condensed. We've got desolation, lay waste, marked a spot with a great drop of a bomb, a monumental stone. So that comes to us by taking the 3 points, the moon, the day side of the sun, Nagasaki, like so. So the distances, the distance around, and the area in nautical miles, in miles, statute miles, and kilometres, tells a story. Now, did they actually pick that date? Yes, sir. Because the astronomy of Europe has been very advanced, even up until the Dark Ages when it was crushed by the Catholic Church. But after that, these things survive in secret. And they knew all about, it's in the book of Job and it's in the book of Isaiah, that the earth is a sphere. I think it's Job 26:7. God has hung the earth in an empty place in the north. So here it is. What is it? It is hung on an empty place in the north, and it's a sphere. And the reason it's hung is because it's drawn by the gravity of the sun that crossed over the equatorial plane of the Milky Way galaxy, and that date was the 11:11 a.m. That's why your 11:11 numbers comes in all the time. On the 11th of December 2011, and we are in the north side of the Milky Way galaxy where creation of the Earth occurred. So we're going back to that same latitude and longitude, we're coming up to it again. So the date was, in fact, because of the addition of the 10 days of Pope Gregory XIII on the October the 4th, adding the 10 days and making the next day the 15th in 1582. But they also were so stupid, they didn't take into consideration that between 1 AD and 1 BC, there's a 0 point in the middle, which is 365 days long. So you just don't go from, say, 3 BC, 2 BC, 1 BC to 1 AD. You've got to go 3 BC, 2 BC, 1 BC, 0, 1 AD, 2 AD, 3 AD. That's how it works. It's simple mathematics. But they didn't have the nous because they crushed all of the geometry and gematria of the mathematics that were quite advanced and has been declining ever since the days of Enoch, who was an Essene and ascended to God when he was 365.2424 years old. Why? Because the base of the pyramid is 365.24.24 pyramid inches, and a pyramid inch is the distance through the average of the Earth's diameter divided by 500 million. That gives you a pyramid inch. Now the British used the pyramid inch, and if you look up history of all the measurements of Britain, you find that the acre and the reed and the rod and the various measurements all come from the Great Pyramid. Even the US dollar and the quarter and the 50-cent piece is based on the dimensions of the King's Chamber of the Great Pyramid. The length of it divided by 2 gives you the 50, this weight, so 412 grams or something like that. And then you divide it by 2, half of that, that's the Queen's Chamber. That'll give you I think it's a 50-cent piece, or maybe it's a quarter. So this is the reality. Now, because they have poisoned you with Jewish propaganda ever since you allowed the Jews into America, they've taken over by a monetary system, and what happens there is that when you're born, you're given a birth certificate similar to Admiralty law, that when a ship docks, it has a inspection by the port authorities, and the captain of the ship hands over, and that's his job, he hands over the itinerary, what's in the ship's hull. And whatever the value of that is determined by the port authorities, and that increases the value of the nation as a whole. So trade is what the Boxer Revolution was all about with China, and the opium trade and the tea trade in India, etc. They were forced by the point of a cannon to trade. Now, what that means is you can buy something for next to nothing in China, which we're doing today, and it has dropped into, let's say, Australia, America, whatever, and things are so cheap that we couldn't even think about building them, so we're all unemployed, and the Chinese are working for next to nothing. And but you can buy body parts there, it's a good thing, if you need a liver or something. What they'll do is they'll take a condemned man out of jail and put him straight in an ambulance and cut his liver out. Also, you can go to trial in China, and you might be accused of some crime that's going to get you killed. And it doesn't matter whether you're innocent or guilty. If you're standing in the court, the judge is right, guilty, and there's an ambulance waiting, and you go out into the ambulance and they kill you in the ambulance and take all your body parts. So this is the body part trade. I, in fact, was with Ash in Egypt at Hurghada, and there's one of the wealthiest men in Egypt, a Jew, and he would fly to Germany once a month to have a total blood transfusion. There's this great big fat Jew going, and he can buy the blood of children in Germany. Now, I don't know of any child that will go into the Red Cross and donate blood. Never heard of it. Yet, he was able, this 200-pound of fat bastard, would have a total blood transfusion of children's blood. So how many little children of the same blood type do they have to sacrifice and murder, collect the blood, to give this fat arsehole a blood transfusion once a month? Now, I know it's true, because I was sitting at the table sipping coffee with his wife. They just got back from Germany. Oh, what do you do over there? Oh, goes for a blood pressure, got a blood problem. I could have said I'll cure the bastard, right? Because I wouldn't do that.
Tell them what sort of income he was on.
Well, it was extraordinary to say that we're talking millions per hour. He owned all of these pharmaceutical dispensaries all throughout Europe. And another one I was treating there, he had hepatitis C. And he was depositing $1 million a day out of his businesses that were in France and Europe in spare parts. And what he wanted was a liver transplant, and he was going to go to China to get it. So I wanted to experiment on him and kill him, because what I did, I took some of my blood and put it in some water and watched him drink it while I was still treating. Now the idea was, you get my blood in you, unless you're righteous, you're dead. So it worked good. Now his, they call each other fathers and sons, but in actual fact he was the uncle of another fellow there that probably in his 30s. He had 2 large boats that would take tourists out scuba diving or just to have a look at the coral reefs and so forth and sail around every day. He also had a hotel and several other properties, but the hotel, he was renting out for $5 million a month. That's the kind of money some of these people have got in Egypt. Those particular family were boasting of the fact that they are just direct descendants from Muhammad. And they all intermarried. So what happens when you start intermarrying? You become, like the Jews are, insane. Your priorities are all wrong. Now, I've been asked a few times, can an atheist go to heaven? Can a Muslim go to heaven? Can a Jew go to heaven? Let's deal with the Jews first. No. Muslim? No. Atheist? No. Well, that settles that, doesn't it? Why? Let's look at it this way. Let's say you're me. Let's forget me. You're God. And you've created the earth, and you're going to, once the earth is perfected, you're going to do this creation of many mansions in my Father's house, the words of Jesus, all throughout the Milky Way galaxy and all galaxies. You're going to be billions upon trillions upon, what's the number, zillions of planets that are going to be just like the Earth, but it's going to be paradise right from day one. And they will all be ruled with a rod of iron. They'll have the longitude and latitude and look out into space and say, "Look, God over there." That's where God is. Right? Now, I wouldn't have, or would you for that matter, a child molester living next door to me. So I certainly wouldn't have it in the same house. Now, the requirement is, and there's a scripture that says, "Lord, Lord, look what we have done in your name." This is Christians, right? And the answer is, I do not know you. So you can be a Jehovah's Witness bumping on the door here, and they've been told about me, and, oh no, you're not him. Huh? The man who cures people in New Guinea with my wife at the risk of being shot, right, or jailed, or my wife being raped in his land of savages that were formerly eating each other not too long ago. Then we go to the Cannibal Islands, which is Fiji, which is the same arrogant bastards, but there's nice people there. And they were told about me by my lovely wife, And I said, no, don't tell them. So she can't help herself, can she? If you want to get something done, you tell them not to do it. That's how it works, right? Because no one ever listens to me, so I just say, well, don't do it, and she went ahead and done it. That works good. A negative, if you like. All right, so would you have a child molester? Would you have homosexual? Would you have someone that denies you as being a creator in your creation that's going to go out throughout all the billions and billions and trillions and zillions of planets throughout the universe? In a mature creation? Would you allow that to happen? No. Would you allow atheists in there who don't believe in God at all? How about agnostics? That's one on the fence. So then we get to Muslims that do believe in God, wrong God. And Jesus didn't die on the cross because God wouldn't have him hanging up there with his big dick hanging out, would he? That's what they think. And if you blow yourself up, you get 17 virgins. No, 70 virgins. One's hard enough to handle and I'm bloody 70. So it's a male-dominated phallic religion that has been created because they're too stupid to understand that the Jews are behind it. So you got all Christianity, it's all Jewish, it's Judaism, Judeo-Christianity. Am I going to allow these bastards? I mean, I don't like them even driving past the synagogue, let alone getting in there with an Uzi. See, I get blamed for everything anyhow. All the wars, all this, all that. Why does God let this happen? Why do you let it happen is the whole point. So I have no problem saying to my angels who are just about here, we've got photographs of Kachina, which I was talking about now with these applications you can get on your apps, they call them, on your phone. And we pointed up at the Kachina, no star there, because it's not in the bloody database, is it? Which proves it's there. Like, it's a negative thing again. Do it all backwards. Alright, so there's no nuclear problem.
What do you got to say about the Samson option now?
Samson option is, of course, all bullshit. The idea was with the Samson option, they knew right from day one, the CIA, this fellow here, he said he was offered a job by the CIA and didn't take it, even though it was lovely. He had all his dreams would have come true, right? But then again, they would have killed him since they got hold of his information. So he was smart enough not to do it. So the Samson option is how Samson had been blinded, betrayed by a woman, hello, and then led out of a dungeon because his hair was cut. He was an Essene, by the way. Essenes don't cut the hair. So he was led to the Palestines where they're all mocking him, and he's got two pillars there, and he asked the lad to take him to the main supports of the building. And of course, by this time his hair's grown back, but he's blinded, and he's going to get even with these bastards, right? It's sort of you could call it the King James option. And he pushes the two pillars apart, and the whole thing comes down, kills himself and everybody else. So that's what the Jews, who are insane, because they're all interbred, they're all Khazars, they're not Jews anyhow. They chose themselves as a chosen people. I wrote that in. The Christians are gone for it. Swallows a hook, line and sinker to blow up people in Palestine. And I've said to people, don't worry about people being blown up in Palestine because they're all replaced by angels. As soon as the rocket's coming in, right, all those people that are in Gaza and you have a bomb hit the top of the building, then you've got 45 seconds to evacuate. That's the nice things the Jews do. To terrorise the people because they know they're going to get blown to bits, right? The angels take over. And they are all, then, what it's all about is testing the world today so that I can have it refined by yourselves, because you're all too evil and stupid, to recognise the fact that this is how God would do it. He would come down according to prophecy and be with you all and be rejected because you all think he's mad, because he goes curing people. And he says he was Jesus, and now he's the Comforter. This is God himself. What a load of crap. Right, who else is doing it? How come I'm not dead? I'm 70 years old. So, Samson option is bullshit. They can't blow up the world. They figured that out. So what they do, they put plutonium reactors all throughout the world and they blow them up. It don't make any difference anyhow. It's harmless. We have a guy that, what was his name, Adam?
Galen Windsor.
What is it? Galen Windsor.
Yeah.
He was one of the first men who worked on plutonium as a fissionable fuel for the very thing that they're building. And he was in charge of ways to store it. And in the pools that he had built to his specifications, he had unlimited money apparently, put in by the government because they needed someone to do it. He'd swim in the bloody water because it was nice and warm from the nuclear reaction. It was happening 30 feet below his feet. He was swimming back and forth every day. He used to drink the water, make coffee out of it. Right? He'd carry plutonium on either pocket up and down the hallways, give it to his other colleagues who would do measurements on it because there had to be certain sizes for the particular reaction that they wanted to do. And when they bring the two together, when they got to a certain point, that the temperature had to be just right and the moisture had to be right and all these kind of things, a blue light would start to flash between and then you'd pull them apart to stop the reaction, push them together again. And he said there's 8 people been killed when they were working on a situation where they had a square of these things and they accidentally dropped one in between, that they were moving them in and out to see what the distances are before the light would start to turn a blue colour. And they dropped a bit by mistake in between. Right? And they didn't know what to do. Instead of just knocking it over, as he said, they was trying to do all sorts of things and went into a mad panic. And next thing they got heavily radiated, which is, he says, like a gigantic sunlight hitting you when you're too close to the sun. You get the same thing, you get burnt or frizzled. That's what happened to them. They died about 40 hours later. Then there was 8 men that had 2 plutonium on a ratchet system pulling them in and out, right? But they didn't have a kill switch to hit the ratchet so they'd pull apart. So as they're going in, they ratchet it in, ratchet it back and forward, slowly, in and out. They dropped the bloody screwdriver across it. Hello? And who knows whether it's magnetic or not. The point is, it went into an instant flash and killed 8 of them. And before they died, the guy who dropped the screwdriver said, shit, if they'd had a quick release on it, there wouldn't be no problem today. And of course they died again about 40 hours later. So the Samson option is what they have by putting these nuclear reactors, thinking that they could pull the pin. That's why the security people and the Sukhnet virus, which invented by the CIA, could put it into the computer, which would cause all sorts of malfunctions of the pumping system so that things would overheat and therefore meltdown would occur. So it's happened 4 times so far. They're looking at reactor number 5 and 6, which is within a quarter of a mile of the 4 that's already gone down. When in fact, the plutonium can be used 100%, not the 7% that they use now, and then when they've got the 7%, the spent fuel rods, drag them out and put them away, and they're finding places where they've got to put them away. The reason they're putting them away is because they can keep on using them. So therefore, they're creating a shortage and a price hike to keep the price of fuel high, and it's even stated to the fact that these nuclear reactors are running at a loss. Well, of course they are running at a loss. The reason they're running at a loss is because they're only using up 7% of the fuel, which costs a lot of money, and then they get rid of it. If they had it the other way around, they use it up 90%, 100%, then you don't have a problem. But the electricity, as what this fellow was saying, Winston was saying, you could $20 a year for all the electricity in a house. But moreover, each suburb could have their own mini nuclear reactor, which would deliver heat, because they waste all the heat coming off the reactors these days, and the cooling towers. They could use that for heating. They could also use it for taking, he said, you can take a piece of meat that you've got to refrigerate, But with the nuclear reactor, you put it close to the source and it'll kill and radiate the meat, and in 8 years' time, leaving it on the shelf in the sun, keeping it moist if you like, so it don't dry out, but that can be eaten as if it was butchered the day before. You don't need a refrigeration in the same manner as we use them today. Now, I'd say you become all vegetarians anyhow, it doesn't matter. But the point is, this is what it's all about. There's no need to be frightened of anything that the Jews can do, or the Americans. There's no nuclear problem. All you've got to do is stop eating the shit that they put in your food, stop the GMOs. Now, the GMO itself, what happens there is corn in particular and soy have a assassin gene in it, in the sense of you have to keep buying seed because it won't breed or reshoot the next year of seed that you have collected. That was one option they did years ago. Whether it's still the case, I don't know. But they have in it a means for controlling the pests that come and eat the corn. So, this particular GMO product has altered the genes and the DNA of the corn. So when you eat it yourself, the bacteria in your stomach takes on the same characteristics of the corn assassin or whatever kills the particular pests that will normally attack the corn when it's growing. However, that is now in your stomach, and you need that to survive, but it kills it. Okay? So apparently how it works.
Yeah, so basically your body starts producing Roundup.
Roundup. So
that's about the hour.
we have 1 hour and it's done. So we'll do another one later, tomorrow. And I might have to do that and not do it live because my little freckle is coming back from visiting our grandson. And been given a gag order, by the way, by the relatives down there because they all hate me. Because I'm the man that tells the truth. Don't talk about him. Horrified when I come to town. Well, you better be bloody horrified, eh? Because when I get through with you. All right, so that's it. Hasta la vista, baby, yeah?
Yep. Have to minimise this thing here.
Yeah, dump it. Where are we here? That's a wrap. That's a wrap, baby.
Success.
The Marshall Hour Show 54. You'll say nothing else too. Bye bye, children.